Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Central Macedonia in Greece. You can see the end point of Greece right here. So we are in northern Greece along the borders of Bulgaria and North Macedonia, which are very important to the history of this region. Especially, well, both of them are important, but the name of North Macedonia was changed to North Macedonia because of this area of Macedonia in Greece. The whole area used to be, as we'll go over in history, part of the ancient kingdom of Macedonia. This country named itself after it, but there was always conflict between this country and this country over the name. So this country finally agreed to change its name to North Macedonia, since this is central and this is east. That's North Macedonia. This area is really geographically interesting. You can see down here in the Aegean Sea this peninsula, which has this name here, which is pronounced differently in Greek than it is in English. I believe in Greek it's, oh gosh, I have to remember how to say it, Halkidika. But in English it's Chalkidia, I believe. It's one of those places in the world that the names are very different in English, so I'm going to be using English pronunciations. So if you're upset by that, I'm very sorry. I'm trying my hardest here. It's very confusing when things are pronounced so differently. We'll get to this place in a second because I've heard 3 different pronunciations for this area. But let's talk about this area here. Chalkidia. There we go. This area, as you can see, is really interesting because it's got these 3 long peninsulas. It, to me, makes the area look like a big old squid. But only these 2 peninsulas are part of Central Macedonia. This one's called Cassandra. And this one's called Sidonius, I believe. But not this one. This one's part of East Macedonia, or Thrace. So we won't talk about Mount Athos and all of that tonight. Just ignore this whole peninsula for tonight, okay? Very interesting how they split that up. But yes, over here is the largest city in this area and the capital and one of the largest cities in Greece. In English, it's pronounced Thessaloniki. Now, I was telling my brother, I was practicing my script with him, and he was like, he's Christian, so he says, well, in church we say Thessaloniki. And I'm like, wait, I've been saying it wrong my whole life. So I looked up that pronunciation and heard it. And then I looked up another pronunciation, and they said Thessaloniki. And I said, what? So I had to double, triple check. In American English, it is Thessaloniki, so that's the one I'm going to use. Just know that it can be pronounced very differently depending on where you are from, or I suppose what time period you're talking about. But we'll talk about the city later. We look at it on Google Earth. The rest of this area is very mountainous, which creates lots of rivers, some beautiful waterfalls, and lakes as well. There are many different mountains and like little mini mountain chains, mountain ranges, but by far the most famous is right here. It is Mount Olympus. This is the highest mountain in Greece. And of course, if you know your Greek mythology, this was the home of the gods, Mount Olympus. This area has 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So let me get my tablet and we'll read about them. We're going to go in reverse historical order, so that I can use it as a jumping point to get into history. So we're going to start with its Christian history, the Paleo-Christian and Byzantine monuments of Thessalonica. I guess that would be Thessalonica, wouldn't it? Founded in 315 BCE, the provincial capital and seaport of Thessalonica was one of the first bases for the spread of Christianity. Among its Christian monuments are fine churches, some built on the Greek cross plan and others on the three-nave basilica plan. Constructed over a long period from the 4th to the 15th century, they constitute a diachronic typological series which had considerable influence in the Byzantine world. The mosaics of the rotunda, Saint Demetrius and Saint David, are among the great masterpieces of early Christian art. Saint Demetrius was from this area, but there were some more, in my opinion, famous saints that came from this area, so we'll talk about them in the history portion briefly. But as you can see, they're very beautiful, very like medieval style, beautiful arches, towers, the white tower. Beautiful painted interiors, all gold and just very like vibrant, I think is the word I'm looking for. Pretty column there, but Shirley is telling a story. I'm trying to get to the Byzantine art, so maybe it's not this slideshow I'm thinking of, but it's pretty characteristic. This is a good one. Very characteristic of Byzantine art, this art style here. But we're going to start off history talking about the Kingdom of Macedonia. So let's read about the archaeological site of Aigai, the modern name Vergina. The city of Aigai, the ancient first capital of the Kingdom of Macedonia, was discovered in the 19th century near Vergina in northern Greece. The most important remains are the monumental palace, lavishly decorated with mosaics and painted stuccos, and the burial ground with more than 300 tumuli, some of which date from the 11th century BCE. One of the royal tombs in the Great Tumulus is identified as that of Philip II, who conquered all the Greek cities, paving the way for his son Alexander and the expansion of the Hellenistic world. If you don't know, Hellenistic means Greek. One of those words that's very different in English. We say Greece. In Greece, they call it Hellas. So here are the remains of the first capital of the Kingdom of Macedonia. Big tomb entrance there, I think, and some artifacts found there. We'll look at it on Google Earth later. These pictures aren't very great. So let's start there. Of course, this area was inhabited for a very, very long time. It was part of ancient Thrace as well, but it became known as the home base of the Kingdom of Macedonia, which thrived in this area from the 7th century BCE until the year 168 BCE, which was the year it was conquered by the Romans. Aigai, for whatever reason, is not on this map. It's like right around here, which is odd to me because there are so many other archaeological sites listed on this map, but I feel like that would be like the most important one in this region, but oh well, it's around here. So this was the first capital. The other would be Pella, which is on my map up here. They were both very important cities to Macedonia. The capital would eventually move over to Pella. The palace here was where not just Philip II was born, but also Alexander the Great. It would be in Aigai, though, where Philip II was assassinated. But why was Philip II so important? Because you think Alexander the Great would have been the most important. But Philip II was just as important because Philip II conquered all of what is today Greece. Prior to that, Greece was a bunch of city-states doing their own thing independently. Philip conquered them all, made them all part of the Kingdom of Macedonia. So when he was killed, Alexander inherited this big kingdom here. But of course, Alexander is like more famous in history. I feel like if you don't even know a lot about history, you know of Alexander, right? You can see Alexandria right here as well. one of the many Alexandrias around the world. He would go on to conquer the Persian Empire, which did invade this area. I read about, here you can see this, the ruins of Pontidea. It was a town that was destroyed by Philip II. But when the Persians invaded this town, way before this, there was a tsunami that took them out. So they retreated. Interesting story. But Alexander would go on to conquer the Persian Empire and beyond, stretching into the Indian subcontinent. He'd conquer Egypt, the Levant, what's today Afghanistan, of course, Iran, all that whole chunk of Central Asia, and spread Greek mindset, culture, all of it throughout that area, heavily influencing it and changing the course of history forever. But of course, he died over in Babylon, not here. So his tomb is not here, but his father's is. Thessaloniki was founded in the year 315 BCE by another Macedonian king known as Cassander, another great king that I feel like gets really overshadowed by Philip and Alexander. And that would go on to be a big thriving port city, as it is today, the second largest port in Greece, besides, of course, Athens. Or Piraeus, I should say, in Athens. But like I already said, this area was conquered by the Romans. And like UNESCO said, it became a center of early Christianity in Europe. Paul of Tarsus would come to, Thessalonica during his second voyage, spreading the gospel, and churches would spring up here from the converts and spread Christianity. The rest is history. I feel like everyone else knows the rest of that. It spread all over the world. But the saints that I mentioned that came from this area are Cyril and Methodius. So over time, Slavic people began to enter the northern area here. And Cyril and Methodius went to go convert them, speak to them, and all of that. And they invented an alphabet for them so that they could, read the Bible. And it was called Cyrillic after Cyril and Methodius. And it is a language that is widely read today, mostly in Slavic countries, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, so on and so forth. All those countries still read Cyrillic. Serbia still uses Cyrillic. There's a bunch. So after that whole period, this area got really weird in terms of the broad scope of history during this next chunk of time. People invaded a lot. Thessaloniki had two big sackings, one in 904 by Muslim converts in the area. In 1185, it was sacked by the Normans, who were coming from Sicily. The Fourth Crusade would bring about a lot of chaos in the Byzantine Empire, which I mentioned in my last Greece video. And weirdly enough, I got the New History magazine, and there was a whole article about the Fourth Crusade, so someday we'll read that together and you'll hear all about the absolute nightmare that was the Fourth Crusade. But basically, Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire, was destroyed. So this area declared its independence for a hot minute, became a kingdom and its own empire. It got invaded by the Slavs and Bulgars, Turks, so on and so forth. It was just a hot mess. Till eventually it all broke down into a back and forth between the Byzantine Empire and the Ottoman Empire. Each one would come into power, invade, take it back, take that back, so on and so forth. Until it was definitively conquered in 1430 by the Ottoman Empire and came under their control for quite a while. It was during this time, not long after that, that way over there in Spain, all of the Jews were expelled out of like the entire Iberian Peninsula. Many of them came here to Thessaloniki, and a huge Jewish population grew here until it became the only majority Jewish city in Europe. More Jewish people than Christians and Muslims. Sadly, it is not that today due to two historical instances. We'll just skip ahead in history briefly. One of them being after Turkey's War of Independence against Greece. All of the Turks were kicked out of Greece and all of the Greeks were kicked out of Turkey. So many, many Greek people moved into this area from Turkey, which boosted that mostly Orthodox Christian population, so that turned the tide against the Jewish population being majority. But the other instance, of course, being World War II. Greece was invaded by the Nazis in, 1942, I believe. I read that only 4% of the Jewish population survived that occupation, which is absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it? But that being said, that is the Jewish history here in Thessaloniki. Let's get back into history. How did this area go from the Ottoman Empire back to Greece? Well, the Greeks declared their independence from the Byzantine Empire in 1830. And they wanted this area back because this area was still part of the Ottomans. The peoples up here, though, also wanted it because this was like also ingrained in their culture in this area. Everyone wanted Thessaloniki, very valuable city to have in your pocket, big port area and all. So the Greeks went to war against first the Ottomans, and then in 1904 they went to war against the Bulgarians for control of this area. That war went on until 1908, known as the Macedonian War. And in the aftermath of that, in 1912, this area was returned back to Greece after a very long struggle. I already brought up World War II, so there's not much else to mention in history. There was a huge fire in Thessaloniki in 1917. Most of it burned to the ground. But other than that, not much. I read they got a metro system in 2024. That's always exciting to have better public transit. But other than that, this is an area that has so much ancient history that modern history is just kind of like a boring footnote. Oh, also the wildfires. Greece is one of those places in the world that has summer wildfires, like California, Australia, and Greece. I feel like those are like the biggest wildfire dangers in like their summer season. There's many others, but those always make the news because the fires are so huge and devastating. There have been some pretty bad wildfires in this area in the 2020s. But other than that, that's pretty much all the history that I have for you tonight in this area. We're going to go to Google Earth. And like I said before, there are so many archaeological sites here. There are so many beautiful mountainous landscapes. We're not going to look at all of them. We are going to look at the highlights. Some of them don't really have a lot of pictures, so I'm going to need all my Greek viewers or anyone that visits this area to go here and take more pictures. What was it? It was Pella. Has some sites that are tagged but have no pictures. That's history, guys. Let's upload some photos there. So we will look at what we can on Google Earth. So let me grab my tablet again, turn out the lights, and let's explore Central Macedonia on Google Earth. Let's go. Here we are in Central Macedonia. And let's start by zooming out so you can see exactly where we are in the world. I feel like it's pretty easy to find because you can see this big squid here sticking out from northern Greece. And Greece is so easy to find. This big peninsula here sticking out into the Mediterranean. It is on the southern part of the Balkan Peninsula and consists of many other little islands down here We'll be going to Crete later this year. But that is where we are tonight. Let's start in Thessaloniki over here. Google Earth has had a hard time loading tonight. I don't know why, but let's take a look around. So let's start at the Archaeological Museum. Let's see what we have here. Of course, lots of beautiful busts and vases, statues. That looks like Augustus, doesn't it? Ooh, hello. Yeah, lots of, oh, pretty. Lots of the typical Greek fair. What is that? It's a door, it looks like. A skeleton man. There's a cat tapping my leg. Goodness. What does she want? I don't know. She's going to start making noise below my desk. Okay. Ignore her, please. Aristotle Square. That's true. Aristotle is from this area. He was also Alexander the Great's tutor. There he is, thinking hard about philosophy or some other wise thing. There's the White Tower that we saw on UNESCO. Pretty self-explanatory. Over here is the Ataturk Museum, because this is actually where Mustafa Kemal was born. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk being the founder of modern Greece, like the most important person in modern Greek history, easily. Let's see what else we have. The Trigonian Tower, very medieval. Nice big fortress there. And the Heptapergion. I assume because of how it's shaped. The various sides that it has. And this big fortress here. Defending the city from, like I said, there's so many different invasions. It's not worth getting into every single little detail and such. You can see the big port there. And the big bustling city along the coast. Here's Piraea Beach. There are lots of really incredible beaches around here. Look how gorgeous. All down the little tentacle peninsulas, there's all kinds of beaches. All kinds. Let me show you. Yes, this is the Chalkidika. Hope I'm saying that right. I always like to look at, when you have something like this, look at the very tip, the capes, right? There's a cape over there too. Oh, beautiful. Look at that water. Beautiful Mediterranean. Gorgeous. Look how incredible the texture on those rocks are. Let's see this cape. Cape Sivas. It's so pretty. It's easy to understand how there's so many incredible mythological stories that have survived. When you look at this landscape, how does it not inspire myth and adventures and all that? Look at this St. Nicholas. There is a cat. Okay, Bonnie, no. She was digging claws into me. That was very painful. I was going to say, do you think this is one of the UNESCO sites? But it doesn't look like it. It looks like a nice place to get married. A little chapel. Oh, yeah, it's just a chapel. 1865 it says, so that's not one of the ones from UNESCO. Let's see, over here, there's Orange Beach. Let's look at Orange Beach. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Look at that. I bet that water feels so refreshing. See the people out there swimming. There goes the cat. Where did she go? She did something. She's on the desk. It's wobbling. Oh, here she is. Hey, Bonnie. She really wants my attention. Say hi, Bon. Hi, silly girl. What is wrong, Bonnie? She really needs something. She probably just wants to play. Well, I'll finish this up and we'll play. Okay, Bonnie? Okay, baby. We're looking at Greece. That's so exciting. Let's see. There is this beautiful mountain over here. Goodness, Cortiatis, which is definitely not how it's pronounced. That fairy gate. Oh, she's trying to climb in my lap. Oh, Bon, I'm sorry, baby. Poor girl. Not right now, baby. I'm doing a video. But yeah, gorgeous sight over here by Thessaloniki. Gorgeous hiking. Beautiful sunset silhouette. Cool rocks. You know I love some cool rocks. And look, wildfire smoke. Now what is she doing? She's trying to get into a drawer. Okay, I'm going to let her do her thing. I'm sorry about the cat. She has learned how to open drawers. That's her thing now. So that's what she's really into. Let's look at Mount Olympus. Speaking of beautiful mountains, like the most famous mountain in Greece by far, Mount Olympus, the home of the gods. This must be the spring where the 9 muses were born. We can see the very tippy top of Greece here. Very old ruined village there. Incredible, like little hoodoos there. Big rock towers, a little chapel there. Outside that cave, all misty, foggy, and snowy, and tree filled. Beautiful waters rushing down from all the snow melt. And look at these like natural lines. It's always so neat to see in very, very old like rock formations and mountains and canyons. See all of the lines created by the progression of time. So beautiful. Right, let's go look at some history, right? So here's Virginia. And we can see the Museum of the Tombs. Let's look at that one. Museum of the Tombs. What was found in all of these tumuli that UNESCO told us about? Looks like there's some crowns. I think a shield, looks like. Another crown. Columns there. I'm not quite sure what we're looking at. Looks like a neck piece there. Statues, figurines, wall frescoes. Look at that. That's incredible. Lots of bones, maybe. More little figurines there. Look at this. That is a gorgeous color. Is that jade? There's a tumulus there. Little tiny guys. Goodness, what's that candlestick? Looks like. Yeah. Bonnie sitting right next to me looking at the tablet. Aren't you, baby girl? My good girlie. You want to learn about ancient Greece, ancient Macedonia? The Polycentric Museum of Aigai. Wow, look at this. All the gold that they wore. Amazing. Statues. More little guys. And all this jewelry. Look at that. Look at that. That's amazing. What a collection. Look at the vases. How amazing. Looks like a bunch of broken ones down here too. Wow, it's a beautiful museum. All the spear points and helmets and swords. Little pots and all the broken ones down there too. All the ones that have been found. Big vases and statues. More jewelry. Man, they were decked out, weren't they? Yeah, they were very fashionable in Macedonia. Incredible. So yeah, the first capital, the second being, let's see if I can find it. Google Earth doesn't like to show it to me. I have to like dig for it. Or just type it in, is what I mean. Instead of just like it popping up on its own. I think I will, so that I'm not just wandering around. But you can see all this beautiful landscape. Look at this mountain. Mount Pico. There's all kinds of mountains here. Like I said, there's so many different pictures and things. As always, I highly encourage you to look at this area yourself and see what you find, right, Bonnie? I cannot see there's a cat. There's a cat in my face. Oh, Bonnie, if you sit there, I can't see. No one else can see if you sit there, Bonnie. My silly girl. All right, let me. Here, Bonnie. I know you really, really want my attention. I know, baby girl. I know. Let's find Pella. Oh, here's Odessa. Let me show you Odessa. It has a really beautiful area over here. Look. The waterfalls of Odessa. Right, Bon? You want to tap it for us? Thanks, baby girl. You're hired. Look at that. How gorgeous. No, Bonnie, don't close Google Earth. Don't close it, okay? We're still looking at it. Thank you, baby. I appreciate you helping, though. I know you're just trying to play with the tablet. How gorgeous this area is. Oh, wow. Look at this cave. All the stalactites and stalagmites. All of this rock shaped by water dripping down it for longer than we can imagine. So beautiful. All right, let's find Pella. Let me type it in. I have it saved in my recent searches because it's so hard to find. There it is up there. Oh no, this is the region. This is the region of Pella, isn't it? Yeah, this is the whole region. Goodness. I need the town, please. The town of Pella. It's like pulling teeth. There we go. Much better. No? You've got to be kidding me. Pella town. Nope. Right, Bonnie? Pella town. Pella town in Greece. Oh my goodness. I thought I had it saved in my recent searches. Well, there's Neapel. Oh my gosh, how did I zoom right into it? That was amazing. I did it. So yeah, up here is the main palace, which has no pictures. Come on now. But down here, there's all kinds. The ancient agora of Pella, or what's left of it, all covered up to preserve it. Hey, Bon. Baby girl. Okay, that works. I hope you can see. Let's see. Archaeological sites, that's what I want. Hopefully you can see around this cat. But here's a mosaic floor. I always love those. Bon, I know you want attention. I know. I'm almost done, baby. Isn't that beautiful? So, wow. Incredible. So yeah, this is the area where Alexander the Great was born. The last capital of Macedonia. Look at this. Someone riding a leopard. Goals. Everyone wants to ride a leopard. Old road there. Pretty amazing. Alexander the Great Square is here. There he is. On Bucephalus, right, Bonnie? I know, girly. Alright, let's look at a little bit more nature before we go. Bonnie says it's time to go. Hold on. Yeah. Bonnie wants attention and love. This slideshow is really great. Kirkini Lake National Park. And of course, there's so many other sites that I found that I'm skipping over just because there's so much to see. This beautiful Greek church here. So leave me a note in the comments about other places that you would want to see besides this pelican, of places in Central Macedonia or the stork up here, so that we can check it out. Little horses, so pretty. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this style of content, please consider subscribing. Next, we are going to the Philippines. Look at all these pelicans. My goodness. We're going to see the Chocolate Hills, which, if you've never seen them before, you need to subscribe because there's nothing else like it in the world. The Chocolate Hills are amazing. Among one of the Philippines' largest cities, it's
No Manila, but still pretty big and very important in the history of the Philippines. So be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational, and I hope that you have a good